Hi, John Morgan here with Bob's Market and Greenhouses, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. So to get things started off this week, let's take a look at a couple of announcements. First off, we now have fresh Tennessee tomatoes at our markets, or at least the markets that carry produce, which are Mason, Belpre, and Parkersburg. So if you want a tomato that actually tastes like a real homegrown garden tomato, come on out and pick up some of these fresh Tennessee tomatoes. They are awesome, and it's going to be perfect with Memorial Day coming up this weekend. And also, speaking of fresh produce, we are now getting in Georgia peaches, the first of the season. So, it's another great thing that just tastes like summer. And before we get started with the rest of the show, I would like to congratulate all of the 2012 graduating class of Wahama. They're having their graduation here in, just a couple hours. So, congratulations to you guys. And let's start things off today by taking a look at the weather. And let's take a look first at the Mid-Ohio Valley and then at some national maps. So for the Mid-Ohio Valley, it's going to be a pretty warm weekend, which is great for kind of the first official weekend of summer, at least for our area. But tomorrow we're looking at highs in the 90s. By far the hottest day is going to be on Sunday. It's going to be up around 93. I tend to look at both AccuWeather and weather.com, the Weather Channel's website. And they're estimating that it's actually going to feel like it's closer to 100 on Sunday. So it's going to be pretty toasty. And probably our closest chance of rain coming up is going to be on Monday and Tuesday. I know a lot of folks have planted gardens just in the last week where we've had all this nice sunny weather, and now we're just kind of waiting on rain to get it to sprout. So hopefully Monday or Tuesday we're going to get rain. The showers are probably going to be hit or miss as far as thunderstorms go. So your area might not see any. If that's the case, Wednesday and Thursday, it looks like it's going to cool off, but there's not going to be much rain. We're going to have to wait more toward next weekend before we start to see more widespread rain. So let's take a look now at some national weather maps. And let's start off with tomorrow's forecast. For Saturday, we're looking at pretty much wall-to-wall sun, highs in the 90s, beautiful day. And then, pretty much the same thing on Sunday. And our Memorial Day weather forecast is looking great. It's going to be hot, sunny, just what you would expect for Memorial Day weekend. And along with that, you need to be sure to put on sunscreen. The UV levels are up there, pretty much as high as you can go on the scale. It's going to be 9 in our area. Farther south you go, the more danger there's going to be of, getting toasted. And where most of us have been cooped up inside all winter, I know I'm white as a ghost, but hopefully I'll get out and get some sun this weekend. So let's take a look now at the allergy forecast. And I know a week ago, I was feeling pretty bad. My allergies were killing me. And it's actually let up a little bit. And according to Zyrtec, who produces the allergy forecast that I use, I'm feeling better this week, and it's reflected in the numbers. Right now we're showing a 7.0 on the scale from 1 to 12, which is kind of down toward the medium range. And the grass pollen levels are finally starting to drop off. It's in our area, it's both because people are starting to bale hay, so those hay fields are getting cut. But also the grass is simply finished blooming for this time of the year. It kind of goes in phases. So the first big bloom of grass is over. But yeah, we still have some lingering pollen. And if we take a look at the pollen distribution map, you can see now that the grass pollen is starting to kind of let up. And tree pollen, for the most part, is doing the same thing too. Up the Mississippi River Valley there, it's really starting to let up on the tree pollen levels, which, if you remember back when I first started doing this, it was just, dark orange up through there. So if you're an allergy sufferer like me that has spring allergies, the end is in sight, I guess. But still, our main pollen concerns are both grass and tree pollen. And the thing that we're going to have to start watching now is weed pollen starting to rise. Things like ragweed. A lot of people think of it as a fall allergen, but it's starting to bloom right now in some areas. And well, that finishes up our forecasts. This week, on our newsletter and on our blog, we were talking about begonia care. So yesterday I went out and filmed a video on some begonia care tips. So let's take a look at that now. Hi, John Morgan here with Bob's Market and Greenhouses. And on today's video, I'm going to share some tips with you to help you care for begonias. There are quite a few different types of begonias, but they all require about the same type of care. So follow these basic tips and you'll be rewarded with a beautiful display. The best kind of soil for your begonias is slightly acidic. To lower your soil's pH, you may need to amend it with peat moss or use a pine-based mulch to help maintain a lower soil pH. Your begonia's roots must never be dry. Because of this, make sure to keep your begonias watered and mulched. However, you should never overwater your plants. Keeping your begonias moist is most preferable. I recommend fertilizing your begonias with a time-release fertilizer, like Classic Coat from J.R. Peters. Begonias require some shading, so make sure that you don't plant them in an area that gets direct sunlight all the time. However, if begonias get too little sun, they tend to stretch and get spindly. Begonias are pretty insect resistant, but caterpillars are very fond of begonia leaves. If you see signs of caterpillars in your trees, it is a good idea to treat your begonias along with the trees. Begonias require little grooming, other than snipping off the occasional dead leaf. Rain or watering is usually enough to wash away spent blooms. For this and other great information, visit us online at bobsmarket.com. Alright, so those were some quick tips for taking care of begonias. And I like to grow begonias myself. In fact, my front flower bed in front of my house, it's for the most part just begonias. And it turns out great. It faces north, so it's somewhat shaded, and the soil conditions there are just perfect for them. And of course, this and, well, tons of other great information you can find in our newsletter. And the easiest way to get it, as always, is to text BOBS, B-O-B-S, to 22828. And that will register you for our newsletter. You can also do it through the website. And well, that finishes up our show for this week. I know it was a pretty short one, but I'm working on some great stuff for next week too. So join me back here next Friday at 4 o'clock.